Hey, everybody out there in Facebook land. This is Colin, your host, and I'm here with Karen, my co-host. How are you today, Karen?
Colin. Hi,
How's it
Colin. How
going?
you doing?
Doing all right, doing all right. So today our host is Alison Solar. She is a kitchen and bath design coach, and she has been a designer for quite a bit. And I will let her introduce herself. So thanks for being with us today, Alison.
Thanks for having me, Colin. I really appreciate it. I'm usually the one doing the interviewing, not
Yes, you
being the
are.
interviewee. So this is a little different for me. Yes, I have a long I have a longer time doing the kitchen. I've been doing kitchens. I got into kitchen design unintentionally. I didn't start my interior design career to be a kitchen and bath designer, but as fate would have it, I started designing kitchens and got into bathrooms around 1992 to 94, and then I really started to take off. So I worked for a few different places. I worked for Home Depot, started out there, and I fell in love with kitchen and bathroom design. And then, one thing led to another, and I just grew my business. So here I am almost 30 years later. And yeah, so I'm a kitchen and bath design specialist, but I want to now transition into teaching the kitchen and bath design to interior designers, because I was teaching at New York Institute of Technology, and I said, oh my goodness, how am I going? I was loving it, loving it, but it's not everybody was taking the course. So I could see there was a need for it. So I decided to create my own online kitchen and bath design academy. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, that when you have the passion to teach people, it's really finding the way to get to them, isn't it? Because you just want to share it. You want people to succeed. You want them to, to do well, and that's one of the tricks is getting in front of as many people as possible. And when you set up your own online sort of school, then it's kind of easier to go out and find people. If you're working for a school, an actual, university or college, you just kind of take who they send to you. But, when you're passionate about it. So specifically in interior designers, um, do you find that a lot of interior designers are trying or wanting to get into the kitchen and bath design field?
I find a lot of designers add it to their repertoire of design package, but they're relying on other people to work the project through. And I found that the course was really, what happened was I just was like, you know what? I really love this teaching. I put all these PowerPoints together. I had to come up with a syllabus. I had no idea how to do a lesson plan. So I put it all together and I really, slapped it all together, made all these PowerPoints, and I did a 10-week program, and I covered this and that and plumbing and blah, 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 cabinetry, doors, countertops. And I was doing it part-time, and I couldn't find a school that just offered for me to teach kitchen and bathroom design to interior designers. And I was Googling it. I said, you know what, if an interior designer wants to learn really about some technical things, so you're not relying on the cabinet company and you're not relying on the countertop company to give you the information, you already come in with knowledge. And that's my motto, is knowledge is power. That's my tagline. So I was Googling and I said, well, if I want to learn kitchen design, bathroom design, where am I going to go to learn it? And it kept coming up like either the National Kitchen and Bath Association or like a school that you had to go for part of an interior design program, part of a 2-year degree. And it's not really that's not my mission. It's not to give you I don't want to have to somebody to have to go to school for 2 years. If
Right.
you're an interior designer and you know your textures, your woods, you have an eye for design, the principles of design are taught in design school. But then I wanted to take it a little bit further and really specialize in it, because I realized that it is a specialty. Like I used to feel bad years ago, like, oh my gosh, I'm an interior designer, but I do kitchens and bathrooms. Like it's a bad thing.
Right.
Oh God, it's a fabulous thing.
Yeah.
And as I've gotten into this virtual world and listening to the podcasts and listening to like Luann Nigara and other people, and they were like, well, the kitchen and bath design specialist, that's really tough. That's tough. So I was like, you know what? I guess what I do is kind of specialized, and it's something that I should be really proud of doing and not poo-poo it, because now I can't pick out a chair. I don't know where to shop for a chair. That's my thing. I wouldn't be able to tell you where to go. Who's a good sofa brand? Have no idea.
Lazy Boy? I don't know.
Oh, that's a chair. Right. But you could tell me about a cabinet company. You could tell me about a custom. You could look at a cabinet and go, oh, high end, low end, whatever. We know the idiosyncrasies.
Yep.
And when I had a designer friend of mine, and she's a wonderful, fabulous designer, but she doesn't know the technical end of kitchen design. She relies on the kitchen company, the kitchen dealer.
Right.
And you've heard me say it before, they put a filler right in the middle where it shouldn't go.
Yeah.
And it stuck out like a sore thumb to me. And it stuck out like that because I know what I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
But for her, she was like, oh, it's beautiful. Yes, everything else was beautiful, but boy, that filler was a killer. The filler was a killer.
Killer. Love it. Love it.
Killer filler.
You know, the thing is, everybody has an agenda. Everybody but you has an agenda. The kitchen dealer has an agenda. Their agenda is to sell you what they want to sell you. You know, but if you learn design now, and that's another thing altogether. If you sell cabinetry yourself, you're a dealer and designing, well, that's fine because you know your line. But independent of that, knowing kitchen and bath design for an interior designer is so important, because you don't know what you don't know, number one, and what you don't know in kitchens can be very detrimental, right? And like you said, that filler in the middle of nowhere, it's like, what the heck are they thinking? You know, why?
Why did they do that? And the designer wasn't trained in kitchen design, that she couldn't look at the plan and go, wait a minute, that doesn't belong there.
Right.
So, and also like, because I coach and I mentor, and the designers don't quite understand, like I understand, like you understand. Yeah. And I think they should. So my thing, I guess, like everybody's talking about profit, making a profit, changing your business, scaling, ladder of services, blah, 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 blah. And I'm really basically bringing it back to school. Mm-hmm. Let's go back to the basics. So I guess it's about making money, but you know what? It's about not losing money.
Exactly. And
because when you make a mistake, when you make a mistake in kitchens and bathrooms,
it can be huge.
And you're talking about construction. We go in there, we're wearing hard hats. You know, we're going talking to the electrician, we're talking to the plumber, we're talking to the contractor, we're talking to the tile people. So you have to be able to work with those trades the same way, like that if I was doing furniture or hanging pictures, I would need to be able to know how to work with those trades. Right. What's the right lingo? What's the right way to approach the project? Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, the other thing too is accuracy, in as far as dimensions go, because you know you can design a room that you know is roughly 13.5 by 12.5 feet. You can, as an interior designer, you can totally design that room. You can't put cabinets in that room. If you try putting cabinets in that room and you think it's around 15.5 feet, you're in huge trouble.
It can't be around anything.
Right.
It has to be,
right.
you know, and it's amazing to me how many designers don't know how to measure the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And we take it for granted, right, Colin and Karen?
Yep.
We like, oh, you want me to measure a kitchen? Whip my tape measure out and go all around the room. And now it's like just so ingrained and I can, you know, but if you're off by a quarter of an inch,
yep,
it's a big problem.
Especially if you're doing frameless cabinetry, and so many people are getting into frameless cabinetry now. That's the thing. And if you're off a quarter inch with frameless cabinetry, you're in big trouble.
Things you don't realize, like when you have the cabinet this way and it's perpendicular to it and you open up the drawer, if the stove sticks out too far, that drawer is an opening.
Right.
So it's very, very technical. So I always say it's form follows function. So once you get the function down, it could be any color, it could be any door style, it could be any finish, you know, but that's my thing is to educate. So I have, out of all, I whipped up those PowerPoints. I spent weeks on them, and now I'm kind of like fine tuning them and putting them to make more sense and up in an online platform where people can go and take a course. And I have kitchen design guidelines, which are basic guidelines. They're the National Kitchen and Bath Association guidelines. And it's not for anybody to like think you're going to take a test. You're not going to take to be a CKD. It's to give you working knowledge so that when you go in to work with your other trades or take on a plan yourself, you know the guidelines for kitchen design, the basic guidelines, you know the basic guidelines for a bathroom. How many times do you see that chandelier over the tub? Okay. Or, you know, the chandelier is over the big free floating tub, right? Well, you can't have that.
Yeah, you can't do it. Yeah.
You can't do it unless it's 8 feet from the edge of the shower or the tub. It has to be but how many people do that?
I think what happens, Alison, they think it looks so pretty. It's kind of like, you know,
looks pretty, looks really great,
looks pretty. But when you're standing up there putting that light bulb in,
right, and
there's a little bit of water in that tub.
Watch out.
The one thing that what you do too is it gives the confidence to be confident with a contractor, because how difficult are most contractors when you tell them something? They argue with you. I'd say 80% of the time, unless it's a contractor you work very closely with, they're going to argue with you. They're going to say, no, that's wrong. Do it this way. No, you know, and you have to have that confidence to say, I'm right. I'm the designer and I'm right. Because, you know, the designers so often get, oh, it's just the designer being a designer. It's like, no, it's the designer being a professional and telling you what you need to know, because you're a general contractor, sir and or madam, a general contractor. What does that mean? Define general. General means broad-based. You don't know everything. You know a little bit about a bunch of different things. That's why you bring in a professional. That drives me crazy when contractors, and I'm getting a little heated because there's some recent history that's in mind that you know.
I got a list.
Yeah. So it's you have to be confident, and unless you have that knowledge, you're not going to be confident. Like you said, knowledge is power, and it gives you it empowers the designers to say, you know, especially if it's a I don't mean this to sound the way it's going to sound, but it's going to sound that way anyway. But if you're a 5'4" petite young woman who's talking to a 6'4" burly contractor, you need to be able to say, I know what I'm talking about. And you can't, you know, because they will try intimidating you. Absolutely.
And you know what? Don't think that every contractor knows what the heck they're doing. I mean, I've had a contractor and I go in, I have all the plans. I sent the plans. I gave everything to the girl, and she's having her own contractor install. Next thing I got a call, Alison, it's all the wrong size. Panel is the wrong size.
There you go. Yep.
Oh my God. So I go, I go back to my order, I double check it, I double check my measurements. I'm like, there's no way. I go to the job site and I'm looking around and he's got the panel like 3 inches off the floor, like the end panel. I'm like, what is he doing? So he just had the panel and some wall cabinets up. I was like, this is impossible. I took my tape measure and I went right up to the bottom of the cabinet, and he had the cabinet bottom at 57 off the floor. I turned to him and I said, these are too high. You have to drop all this down. You set these all wrong. These are 54 off the floor. And then he goes, then they get mad, right? They're mad because you figured out that they did it wrong. Yep. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make you mad. Well, and then what am I supposed to do with this? What is this molding? How is this going to go up on the crown? I said, that's light rail. And I was just really patient, and I'm like, no, this is the crown. This is how it goes. This is the light rail. And they want to scream. They want to kill me. They want to kill you.
And no matter how much detail, you give them in the plans and the elevations and, notes and all that stuff, they don't read that stuff. They don't read any of it.
Oh, actually, my guys do. But
that's good.
I have to go over.
But see, that's the key, Karen. They're your guys. That's the key. What Alison's talking about is somebody that hired their own Yahoo, truck with a truck that's going to come and install the cabinets.
But I have to go over.
They know. They think they know more. They think they know. Oh, well, I would have done blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I've had those.
But it's not your kitchen.
Oh well, here's my design badge here. You can have it. Have a nice day. You go be the designer. I'll be the contractor, because guess what? You'll get even more wrong and I'll get more right than you. So get out of here.
I do think there's sometimes, like you're talking about, where it's the knowledge we have that we just hang in there, and it really doesn't upset us if they act like this.
Yeah.
We just talk them down and make them do it right. And then
it upsets me, Karen. It upsets me.
But you know what? Every once in a while, you'll get the one that
call me.
You'll get the one that calls you. Every once in a while, you get the one that calls you and says, hey, yeah, this is Joe. I'm the installer over on blah, blah job. And I just have a couple of questions for you.
A nice guy.
I'll answer as many questions as you want. Go for it. And then, he asks all the right questions, and then it gets installed perfectly. And it's like, oh, and that's rare, but it does happen.
It's called respect.
Exactly. It's having mutual respect with and it's, it's like when somebody's like that, my even though I get really flustered and hot under the collar, my thing is you can't be too nice. It's, you know what I mean? You just nice them to death. And sometimes the nicer you are, like you were calm and cool and collected, and that made him more upset. Yeah,
he actually apologized to me after. He was like, oh, I'm really sorry, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Like I've got more people like that than the other scenario that you said.
Yeah.
I've had contractors. Right, I put the plumbing fixture in. It's the thermostatic shower valve. The woman she have cold water. It's the thermostatic valve. It needs to be calibrated. So I go in, I look, I do this. I was single a long time. So I have a house. I know how to do a lot of my own things. So I'm in there doing this and that. And I called the contractor. I said, listen, it's installed wrong. It needs to be calibrated. Oh, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. I'm like, please, having to, can you imagine not knowing how to respond to that? How, if you don't know the project, the ins and outs, and the designer is the one who's on the project site when the kitchen's going in. Mm-hmm. Or the bathroom's going in. So if you've got a contractor talking to you and you don't know what you're talking about, they will walk all over you.
Oh yeah.
They will just
that's why I say you have to have that confidence where you will stand your ground, and and if somebody's being mean or intimidating, just get out of there. Just leave.
I've had to tell them, listen, I'm not here to argue with you. I'm not here to fight with you. I'm here to make this nice for the client, solve a problem, and work together, because you know what, at the end of the day, you need me and I need you. Okay. You need to put it in, but you need me to design it.
Right.
So, and if you have knowledge, you just like, it just absorbs confidence, right? You don't mean to be confident, like cocky. You're not
right. I was just gonna say there's confident and then there's cocky.
Yeah, you know? It's like, well, of course I know what I'm talking about. I've been doing this for 30 years. So, you know, I always can learn something new every day. Always things are changing, but you know, that foundation, that real foundation. And that's why I have my academy, because it's really about the foundation of the kitchen and bathroom design. It's about what is the difference between my latest course is really breaking down. It's a 2-hour course, but broken down into chapters. And it really breaks down that cabinet and the door and the hinges and the drawer, because so many designers don't quite understand why is one cabinet company more than another. You can understand it, but you know what? Let's dig that box apart. Let's see how it's joined. Let's see what the back material is. Does it have a hanger bracket? Does it have corner blocks, plastic corner blocks, stringers? Like really, what's the difference between the center panel on a door? Why is one door more expensive and another door not expensive? And you mean the veneer center panel is not going to age at the same rate as my solid wood face frame? All those little tiny things that you and I take for granted because we've been doing it for so long. But
you mentioned earlier, you know, that you know, people look to their vendors for this information, but it's skewed. That information's skewed. They have an agenda. They are going to teach you about their line, and if their line doesn't have something, they're not going to tell you that.
And same goes for a tile company, a granite countertop company, a quartz supplier, plumbing fixture guys. I mean, they're all going to know that if I'm a salesperson and I'm going to sell you this fixture, I'm making commission. So I want to show you that fixture because I know my percentage of commission is more. So like you said, everybody has their own agenda. But if you know the brand and you know, I want this particular thermostatic valve and I want it to be controlled like this and this and this, then you're taking control of the situation. And I hate not being in control. I hate being in the, like not knowing. Like I'm always like, well, if you know, I know.
So what I found is as a designer, I feel I have to control everything. Which gets crazy, but when we lose control of a job, it always messes up for some reason. But I maintain control the whole way. Yeah, are you guys like that? Where you maintain control?
I do maintain control because I feel responsible for that room, down to the light fixture, down to the color on the wall. As an interior designer, I only get involved in the kitchen and bathroom. That's it. I'll decorate, I'll do window treatments, or even just, you know, suggest something. But I guess I'm controlling. I'm a bit on the bossy side too. I've been told I'm a bit on the bossy side.
Do we all have that about us?
But you know, Colin? But you know what? It really depends on, you know, because I've spent my career about a third of the time doing pure design, a third of the time in retail, and a third of the time in a design build type situation. So, you know, that's kind of well-rounded in the situations that you've been in. And I know that the two of you have been sort of in those, all three of those in some way, shape, or form. And you know, I think that the bulk of the folks that are in our industry are in that design center, you know, larger, you know, mid-sized design center or home center, that they have very little to no control over what they're buying as far as appliances and all that stuff. So, you know, what I've experienced, I had a manager in retail once who was she actually refused to know anything about anything that was in their project other than what was under her control. And unfortunately, as a manager, she taught her designers that. And people would go through and they'd be like, yeah, I don't really care what your stove is. I don't really care what your, it's like, what is, that's wrong. Well, you're spending too much time. If you spend too much time on the appliances, you're not selling, their sales quotas and all that. So, that's kind of something that you are up against, depending on what part of what segment of the kitchen design industry that you're in. But I always say to people, get the information, educate yourself. It's worth it. At the very least, you are, most, I think that center population that works in either showrooms, retail showrooms, or home centers, maybe not home centers, but retail showrooms, they're on a salary plus commission type of pay structure. So the more you know about the projects you're selling, the faster you'll sell them, the more that you'll sell, the more that you'll make. So even though you're not directly, if you're a design fee based only, or part of what you do is design fee based, then you can build in a couple of hours to research that person's appliances. So you can actually get direct financial benefit from it. You can in a home center, not a home center, but in a retail showroom, but you certainly can get benefit from it on the other end, where you're confident, that, like we talked about earlier, it's eliminating mistakes. If you eliminate this mistake, then if you make a mistake and part of your pay is, I've seen everything from the designer having to absorb 100% of the cost of the fix, to it just allowing the management allowing it to just affect the bottom line margin. So if they were at like a 35% margin and they would have made 20% of the gross margin dollars on this project, and they make a mistake that brings that gross margin of the project down to 25, and they're only getting 16%, their income's going way down. So you need to know this stuff to prevent the problems. A perfect example was somebody that I worked with she was a pretty good designer, super sweet lady. She would, and her husband happened to be the general manager of the store, by the way. She would literally refuse to see people's specs. Nope, I don't want to be, I don't want my brain to be, confused by anything like that. I don't care about she had thousands and thousands of dollars of mistakes every year because of that.
I was lucky to start my career in kitchen design and bathroom design in Home Depot. And I was working in the busiest store on Long Island, the second busiest store, actually. The busiest store was in Queens when we opened up Elmont, Queens. And then they opened up East Meadow and then Westbury, Jericho. And, if you order, you don't look at the specs for your refrigerator and you don't confirm it, and you order the cabinet above it, if you're off by the wrong size, you can't fit your cabinet in. Right. So you have to replace the cabinet so it all comes out. So the bottom line was always absorbed through Home Depot.
Right.
But you're learning from your mistakes. You don't want to have mistakes, because if you make mistakes, you're a shitty designer, excuse me. But so you want to be better. You want to be good. You want to learn. Don't want to make that same mistake. And I'm a Capricorn. So I'm a climber, and I am always thinking, like, I want to be the boss. I want to be in charge. I want to be the boss. And I knew around here, where I'm from at the time, there were all the kitchen places, the smaller boutique kitchen places, are family owned. Like the father started it, the son, the other son, the daughter, their husbands, their children, the uncle, the aunt, blah, blah, blah. It's all family. And you always get the idea, you always hear like, oh, I didn't get my commission from so-and-so. Yeah, I didn't get my commission from so-and-so. And as a single mother, I couldn't afford to work for somebody on commission and not make, not get paid. So I was like, and also I don't want to, I'll never be the sister or the wife or the brother, or
Right.
I'll never be that person. So I won't have that on that ladder of loyalty. I'm going to be way down low. Okay. Because your more loyalty is your family, right? So I'm going to be way down low. And I was like, I don't want to be the low man on the totem pole. It's just me. So, and I had gone through some really difficult personal things and some physical things. And I had an awakening, and I was not going to tolerate anything that didn't make me feel good inside. Like, just to take that second, like we were talking about when we started, overthinking, stop thinking and start feeling. And I was like, I'm not going to do anything that doesn't make me feel good or make me feel happy or doesn't feel right. And I said, I've always wanted to open up my own company. I've always wanted to work for myself. And I'm really good as a designer. So I refinanced my house, took out a lot of money, and I opened up my own showroom. And I did building, I do high-end construction projects, the whole thing. And I was working 6 projects, Manhattan, in the city, out east. And I had assistants, and I had my contractors, and I had a lawyer, and I had everything, but I wasn't really a good business person. So I learned a lot as far as design, having my own business and how to do my own ordering, order processing, acknowledgements, payments. I had to learn QuickBooks, and I just knew that I wanted to do it. So I learned it. They go, how did you learn it? I was like, I just did it. To know is to do. So I learned, and I went and I asked questions, and I talked to some of those business owners who had started the company. That was, 3 generations later. They said, when I started my business, I had brown paper in my windows covering my showroom. And I said, you know what? If he can have brown paper on his windows and he's successful, I'm going to have brown paper on my windows and I'm going to be successful. And all was going well until we had the Great Recession.
Yeah.
And I was just too new, too little, and I did not have the business savvy. And I
happened to me too.
Yeah. And I lost the showroom. I didn't lose my business. I lost my showroom. And I also, I think that we all had this terrible time of, I didn't know what I was going to do. How am I going to make a living? Oh my God, I went into depression. But one thing that they have now, which is why I started the Kitchen and Bath Design Academy, is this virtual. We didn't have business managers, virtual coaches, and mentors. Mentor was with the Small Business Association. So I remember back when I had the Small Business Association, and I had to go to the lady's house and she showed me how she filed. But now look at how many coaches there are. How many business people are out there? So this new generation is able to have all this connectivity with accountants and people and this one and that one and coaching and teacher. It's incredible. And look at these groups. Look at your group, the 2020 Power Users Group.
Look at your group, which we haven't mentioned yet, by the way, but we need to.
Kitchen and Bath Design Tips.
Yep.
For interior designers. I know. And how did I come up with that name? It's like, oh, well, what are you going to call your group? I don't know. How about Kitchen and Bath Design Tips? I don't know. So that's where it comes into that overthinking. Just name it. Just do it.
Yes.
I think, Allison, that you have a great group, though. It's very interactive, and they all seem very polite, and they always ask great questions, and there are a lot of people that come in and answer, and they have your help. So it's really a really good Facebook group.
Good. I really want to make it like a focus group, to come and ask questions and to, like the kitchen and bath industry group. People ask questions, and the what they don't teach you in design school group and the interior designers profit group or whatever. There's so many of these great groups. I love it. I happen to really love it. I'm not a big fan of Instagram. Other people run my Instagram. I'm going to tell you right now, I can't stand it. It's too much social media. I'm not of that age that it's just not something that I've been doing for the last 20 years. So for me to write an Instagram story is like, let's write an Instagram story.
Yeah, and it's funny because some people say, "Oh, I only look at the stories." I'm like, I never look at the stories if I go on Instagram at all.
Yeah.
So it's like, but I have a thing where I don't like videos starting automatically. For some reason, it just whenever a video starts, I'm like, my phone, like I have my own phone. I'm like, I don't know, it just starts blaring out of the blue, and it's just, I don't know. That's not my cup of tea. But anyway, I digress.
So I find that had that internet stuff been around, business would have been different, but it is what it is. What happened, everything happens for a reason. It all follows. One thing leads to another, leads to another. It's all part of a ladder, an interconnected ladder that we never knew was really out there. And to take advantage of all of these things online. I remember when I was going with actually what happened was I was with a business coach because again, I had to figure out what am I going to do for work? How am I going to get new clients and da-da-da-da-da. And a friend of mine, Nancy Ganzikoffer with the Interior Design Society out here on Long Island, she was like, why don't you let me be your coach? Come on, coach. And I was like, all right, all right, I'll do coaching with you. I don't know. So then one of the questions that she asked was like, who's your ideal client? And I'm like, who's my ideal client? I'm like, I don't know. Anybody who will pay me, but it's supposed to be more specific. And I was like, yeah. I don't know. And then as she was coaching and teaching, I'm like, I think my ideal client is interior designers who want to learn more about kitchen and bathroom design. That's what I'm going to do. So it was like an epiphany working with her that I want to do this coaching and teaching and helping. Like if a designer want to take on a kitchen project, Alison, where do I go? Who do I call? What? So I just would meet with the designers one-on-one, and I'd be like, okay, what's happening today? Now, this is the next step that you're going to do. And you're going to go and you're going to call your local dealer here. You're going to try and make a friend over there. And I just started to do it. And and here I am. I haven't stopped doing it. I work part-time at a kitchen place so that I can still do my design work. But they're not my own clients. I don't want to take on any of my own clients anymore unless it's while I'm working with somebody else. It's like been there, done that. I've had that. I've cried and cried, and I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to just work for somebody else. And it's it's like you work there and then you go home. You're like, bye, I'm out of here.
So, what I'm thinking as you're talking, Alison, is so I started designing kitchens 22 years ago. But I had been doing interior design before then. So if I would have had someone like you, of course, Facebook wasn't around then, that I could have connected with, you could have made my path so much faster. So that for newer designers that really need that help of understanding cabinets, construction, how to put together a kitchen, it would be perfect to link up with you as a mentor so that they can learn more and they can actually move their path forward faster.
Yeah, and help them with a project. I find that that's a lot of coaching. There's no other kitchen and bath design coach out there that teaches, as far as I know, that teaches about the design. I'm not teaching about the principle of design and the aesthetic of the design. It's really more technical. And I think it needs to catch on like anything else. Like, well, how can you help me? And why do you think I need help? And I just was like, I enjoy doing it. And I have so much knowledge. Let me pass it on to somebody else who's younger, because I'm eventually going to be gone and the new people are coming in. I mean, I'm not going to be gone, really gone, but
I'm sorry, Alison, but we all are eventually. I hope I'm not telling you something you don't already know, but
it's the one thing we can't escape.
That's right. Two things.
Two things.
Death and taxes.
Death and taxes. Okay.
Right. So in the meantime, I'm going to live, and teach, create.
It's you get to the point where you're like, and especially when you say it to somebody, when something comes out of you and somebody looks at you and goes, what was that? That was really cool. What a great nugget. That's like, okay, great that person picked up on it, but it's like, who else can benefit from that? You know what I mean? That's what it really is. It's like you have this stuff stored in here. It's like an old hard drive that you keep upgrading and upgrading and upgrading, and you go into these little recesses of the old hard drive and go, oh, look at this little thing that I found. So it's really amazing as we get to a certain point. It's like, we need to pass this along. This stuff is great. I mean, that's why I do what I do with 2020. I pretty much do with 2020 what you do with general kitchen and bath design.
Yeah.
And
that 2020, let me tell you, that's a tricky one. And I've been doing it for decades. I've been doing it since the 90s. But the way that they do it now, and all the times they change now with this virtual reality stuff and all that, you can never stop learning with that program.
Yeah. I mean, I had, it was just a couple of years ago when, coworkers said, why aren't you teaching this stuff? And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I should be, and now here I am, doing it. So it's you just have this knowledge that you want to pass on, and you can only touch so many people at one time. So that's where the courses really come in. That's where I enjoy the courses. The digital courses, the ones that are on demand, that people just come in and, it's there. If you can only do 20 minutes in that day, you do 20 minutes.
Yeah. And when I was doing the coaching with my friend and a small group, and they were like, oh, I love a podcast. It's like, so 4 years ago. So podcast, what the hell is a podcast? And why are people listening to this? I don't understand this. I just didn't get it, because you know what? I think a lot of it is also who's in your household. And it's just my husband and I. My daughter is married and living out of the house. So I don't have that youthfulness of I want mom, we need the phone, we need internet, there's that lingo that you miss without that generation when you're living with them, because you're not having the opportunity to have a discussion like that or be aware of what's out there, because we only know what we know. And when they were saying to me about the podcast, I was like, what are you talking about? So I said, all right, let me try it. And I went and I found Luann Nigara. Okay. So what I did was I started to listen to the podcast while I was walking. And it's interesting how things develop, because at the time I was going through the coaching and decide who's my ideal client and what do I want to do and how do I want to get this and what's my money story and all these really, really deep business and personal questions. And then I listened to the podcasts, and then they were talking about that book, The Profit Margin, the profit formula, whatever that is. And then another thing, and then the perfect day formula. And I was like, wow. So as I was searching in my own, not realizing it, I was putting it out into the universe, and all these things were coming to me. And they kept saying, well, the kitchen and bath, that's a really big specialty. Oh, kitchen. And I kept hearing that over and over and over, whether I wanted to hear it, but that's what I heard, kitchen and bath and the specialty of it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to own that specialty of it. And I think my ideal client, look at all the teaching that they're doing. So it all kind of wove together to be where I am now. And I'm always still learning and growing, and things are changing, but developing this Kitchen and Bath Design Academy, it was just something that I felt that I wanted to do. And I think that's one thing that people think too much. We talked about that in the beginning. You have to, like, it's when people do in a kitchen. Okay, you're going to ask somebody what they're just undecided. Your client is undecided. I don't know whether I want white or whether I want dark. I don't know. And it's like, you know what? Just close your eyes a second and feel a white kitchen. Imagine yourself walking into a white kitchen. Okay, now close your eyes and imagine yourself walking into a dark kitchen. Which one of those felt better? Don't think about what you thought a second after you felt it, because you're going to say, oh, I love this white kitchen. It's so, but it can be hard to clean. Oh, maybe I'm going to get tired of it. Oh, is it really the commitment I want to make? So your mind gets in the way. The same thing with the other colors. So you got to feel that and then stop. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I find that you have a real passion that comes through for cabinetry and design.
I can't help myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Karen and I consider ourselves cabinet nerds. So.
Yeah, and you know, design. As a designer, the lighting, the sound, how things function. Whenever I go into a hotel room, the minute I walk in, first of all, I have to say, take a picture, because it's not going to be clean like this ever again, because I'm messy. But I'm in the bathroom. I'm analyzing, where's the towel bar? Does it have the thing? How is the shower? How's the door open? How's the toilet? What's the sink like? How many times I have to flush the toilet? Does it work? Like, Allison, cut it out. I'm sick of myself. I can't even stand to be around me. So I do that. I critique, and I'm like, and then I'll rearrange the furniture. I'm like, why do they have the chair there? The chair should be here.
See, that's what's good about us. I think that we have the ability to critique. Do you know what I mean? We go in and it's like, well, that's not right.
No.
How can you cook in this kitchen? You know?
Exactly. How about a funny story? I'll tell you quick. I took my daughter to vacation in New Jersey, at the Jersey Shore, and we rented a little bungalow right near the water. So it was just like a one-room studio kind of, pull out bed. First of all, I had to clean it because it smelled funny. I totally redid the furniture. I'm moving the couch. I'm like, this is just not conducive to watching television, or this would really make the room better. And I rearranged it, literally. Nicole, help me move the couch. When I moved the couch, I found a dead snail underneath there.
Oh God.
The smell was.
I'm glad it wasn't a mouse.
No, it was a snail. And that's where the smell was. So I solved that problem. And I also made it. And I always wondered, I wonder if they left the furniture like that.
Leave a note, just says, you're welcome.
Design. You should have left a note. Designed by Allison.
I can't help myself. I'm sorry.
That's so
and when
cool.
I go to my sister's house, and I'd start looking around, she goes, don't even think about it.
She knows you well, doesn't she?
Yeah, get that look right off your face, Allison. It's funny, but now it's like you can't turn it off.
No,
right? You're always thinking of it when you go into anybody's kitchen. And I look at a picture, and I think that's another thing that really bothers me when people advertise their. I put a post up in the group one time, and it was a contractor saying, "Look at my beautiful work," and I'm looking at it going, "The microwave is way too high." Another thing, well, I put it out there for the designers to say what's wrong with it, and everybody picked apart something. And it's like that contractor thought he was taking a picture of a really nice kitchen, and it's wrong. It's not right. But people don't know that. Like Mary Jane Smith from, Allentown, who is a school teacher, doesn't know that that's not the right spot for the microwave.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And actually, house flippers are the worst with stuff like that.
Oh,
I
you
was
showed
just
me the
showing
picture
Karen yesterday. There's
yesterday.
a listing in my area. They must have
Terrible.
they must have gotten a really good deal on these cabinets, because it was the refrigerator enclosure was 3-inch fillers with panels. Okay. I don't know if they ordered wrong or they got a deal on these cabinets, but there was then another 3 inches of fillers on either side, and then a 30-inch cabinet above the refrigerator. So there was 6 inches of filler above the refrigerator. It looked ridiculous.
It wasn't done on purpose.
It's so hot in my town that it's probably, these people probably figured, oh, I picked up these cabinets for $1,500. I'm just going to throw them in. And, because stuff's crazy in my town. It's going for $25,000, $30,000 over asking right now. It's crazy. But they probably figured, then they ended the run of wall cabinets, like 15 inches before the base cabinets on the other leg.
They ran out of cabinetry.
And then the sink base the sink was right next to the end panel on the side of the fridge.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So you had no space to the left of the sink.
Yeah, God forbid they used 3/4-inch panels and gave some space to the left of the sink. But yeah,
but that refrigerator sure has a lot of 12 inches worth of
oh yeah.
Nice 12 inches worth of nothing.
Yep. And you'll never guess what the cabinetry is. Allison, you'll never guess what it is.
IKEA?
Well, no, I mean like door style and color.
Oh, it's a white shaker.
It's a white shaker. That's right. How'd you guess?
Because everybody wants a white shaker.
I know. And then a price level 1 granite.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. Right.
Is it only kitchen designers know this stuff, that it's a price level 1 granite?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
Oh, is level 1 the highest? No, dear.
No.
Level 1 is the lowest.
Goes the opposite way.
Put in those crappy cabinets, and they'll put the top of the line quartzite on it or something, and you're like, why would you do that? Like, I don't understand.
or they'll paint the old oak cabinets that are partial overlay, and then put granite on it, because they're just going to be listing it. Yeah.
And God forbid they should use a laminate countertop. Don't even talk to them about it.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about Instagram, though, with the please hate these things. Do you follow that account?
No.
It's awesome. There's a designer. She's somewhere. I don't know where she is, but she posts these pictures that are horrible. It's please hate these things is the name of the account. Yeah, and there's some really, really cool stuff. Some of them have gotten posted in the 2020 group occasionally. Somebody will grab it and post it. One of them was a set of stairs that led down to a bathroom. Like the bathroom was at the bottom of the landing, and of these stairs. It was really bizarre. But anyway.
Yeah, it's bizarre what's out there, and people, just go, okay, well, my contractor's going to do the kitchen.
Yeah.
Oh, heaven help you.
Yeah. Well, I was just a quick little story. I was I'm doing some design work for a contractor friend of mine, and I do chief architect too. Don't tell anybody. I was talking to the homeowner, and she's like, oh, well, my dad's company is a Marsh dealer, so I'm just going to buy Marsh cabinets. And my uncle just said, yeah, just take your measurements to Home Depot and get a layout, and then we'll order your cabinets for you. I'm like, I mean, that's great, that's wonderful. There are still some good designers at Home Depot, but it's just the way that the mentality of people is just so skewed, and as designers, it's so hard to hear stuff like that.
I had a woman come into the store that I work at, and she wanted help picking out a vanity. So she had tile, and she bought in the tile from the store, and very interesting. Whatever, you like it, I don't really care. So she goes, yeah, this is going to be the floor, and I'm going to run this right into the shower. I'm going to use this on the shower floor, and it's a 12 by 24 tile.
Okay.
And I said, well, you can't use that on the shower floor unless you have a curbless shower. And she goes, no, they told me in the store I could use this on the floor in the shower. I said, well, you can give that to 1,000 installers and not one installer is going to install that in your shower floor because it's too big. So the salesperson doesn't know what they're talking about. Right. And that goes back to my whole thing about you, designer, really knowing your product and really knowing what to do. So the homeowner just is going to go by what the store says. And if a designer is not knowledgeable, you're going to go with what the store says.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I find that I think that clients or customers think that all designers are equal too.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem that, you know, it seems like very few people actually interview designers, but how smart is it?
Oops.
Because there's a difference.
Definitely. And I think what's really great about Facebook and this Instagram and the groups and coaching is the camaraderie that's happening within the interior design and kitchen design, the creative industry, how we're all kind of able to support each other. And I find that now in this day and age, there's so much room and a desire for collaboration and education. I've just never heard the chatter about interior design and kitchen and bathroom design. It's just overwhelming where it was never like that before. You always had interior designers like, well, how much do you charge an hour? Well, you know, it depends on who. And you go like, somebody tell.
Yeah, or it's like, this is mine. This is all my information. You can't have it. This is all mine. Mine. And that's changing.
Totally changing.
That's changing. People are networking more and you know, I mean, I'll be the first to admit that 15 years ago, I didn't totally get networking. I didn't totally get, you know, lifting each other up and you know, helping each other out, even if it was just moral support. You know, it's so crucial to have that support system, especially right now where this is all we can do. We can't meet in person right now. So I know it's sad. I was so sad when KBIS went virtual, but yeah, it's so important to have that camaraderie, even if it's just, you know, posts in a Facebook group.
I think that for all the technology that we have, that, you know, we're buying remotely online, we'll buy here online, and we won't, you know, this is available at our fingertips. There's more of a desire to come together as humankind, that you still need interaction, you still need to talk, you still need to touch each other with your words and with how you feel and emotions. You have to, there's so much connection than there's ever been, that it's like the opposite of technology. You know, it's like the two juxtaposition of the both. Like one is just such an emotional thing and the other one is just like technical, but there's a desire to really be more connected. Do I make sense?
Yeah, makes
sense.
Sometimes I ramble. I'm like, what am I talking about? Do I make any sense?
No, technology is very cold and emotionless. You know, technology has no soul, but we inject the soul into the technology, and we use the technology to be able to at least touch each other in this way. You know, without this technology, Karen and I would have never met. Allison, you and I would never met. We never would have met. There's, or I shouldn't say never. There would have been an infinitesimal chance that we could meet, you know, that we happen upon each other at KBIS or CEDIA or something like that. But, you know, chances are pretty good that we never would have met. So, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in New York. You're in New Jersey.
Well, I'm in New Hampshire, actually.
Oh,
my dad was from New Jersey originally, but I'm in New Hampshire now. Sorry.
And Karen, where are you?
Pennsylvania.
See, so we've got a couple of states covered here, just between the three of us. It's fascinating to me. I find the whole thing fascinating.
It truly is.
You know, and then what's even more fascinating is when my granddaughter comes over and she goes, Grandma, here. I say, here, post something on Instagram for me. And she goes, oh, okay. And then you go like this, and then you go like that. And look, there it is. I'm like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? She's like, oh, you just press that there and go like that and get that there and get a sticker and go like that and go like there. And boom. I'm like, oh my God.
Here you go. You're my social media manager now.
I need one of those.
You know, here's my account. Just post things. She's really creative, my granddaughter too. That was my oldest granddaughter. And as soon as she was the first granddaughter I had. So being an artist, I'm an artist. I paint, I draw. I always wanted to be an artist of some kind. And I have my easel and I got her little smock, and she was like 1.5 years old, maybe 2. And she was painting away on there. And I just have her with the tempera paints and painting and painting. And now she's an amazing little artist.
That's awesome.
So that, to me, that's like, let's paint. Like, that's why I don't want the stress of dealing with kitchen and projects on my own and bathroom projects on my own, because I don't want that stress anymore. You know, there comes a time, like I've got a few more years left, and then I plan on really just doing my artwork and relaxing and enjoying the second half of my life, you know. So I don't want the heaviness of design, like construction. I like the lightness of teaching and designing and then going my way.
Yep. And
then I'll paint.
That makes sense.
I hear you.
Yeah. Yep. So someday I hope to retire, semi-retire.
No, you don't.
It sounded good for a second when I said it out loud, and then
no, you don't.
Well, it's so hard to, you know, we all grew up with the notion that you go work for a company for 40 years and then you retire and you're done. And you go, you know, you mow the lawn or, you know, sew or knit or, you know, and that's it. And that couldn't be farther from the way it is now. You know, there's really no such thing as traditional retirement that we knew growing up, you know.
Well, luckily, my sister was lucky enough to retire. She retired early, and she plays more golf than I ever knew she loved. I had no idea they were such avid golf players, but I don't like golf that much. So she's retired, and they're in North Carolina, and they golf. Where are they golfing? Not for me.
Well, your art is your golf.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And teaching.
Well, and teaching, of course. And that's the thing about courses specifically too, is that leaves a legacy. You know, that can stick around kind of forever. You know, I mean, having a curriculum or a syllabus and having it all like in a drawer, in a hard drive somewhere is nice, but having it out there for people to find and actually still benefit from it is, you know, you could be in your art room, you know, painting, and somebody could go and be taking your course while you're painting.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the beauty of technology, really, is being able to leave that legacy.
What I loved about this last course I did was that I was trying to find information online, like to get pictures and to do this, that, and the other thing. And because I draw, I was like, you know what? It's easier for me just to draw this, because I was going into 2020 and I did like 2 little things, but then I like to draw. I like to sketch, and I have the app Procreate. And then I have my iPencil, and I have the screen protector that's like textured.
So it feels like paper. I think you were talking about that before in your group.
Yeah. And so I bought because the iPencil just will slide over that glass. And my writing instrument is extremely important to me. The brushes, the writing, the paper, just the whole feel of the experience. So I took the Procreate, I uploaded the basic 2020, and I went and I colored it and I drew on it, and I made all the drawings for this new course are my drawings, and the content for it is my content. So this course, I can actually take this course and submit it to IDCEC with my bibliography, my video, and I can get it to be a CEU course. That's my
Awesome.
that's my goal with this course. And I'm really proud of this particular course, and I'm hoping that people find it a lot of information, and are happy that they purchased my course, because and I don't talk off of a script. I don't teach like
I'm the same way. Yeah.
I don't teach like it's all written out. I teach like how I'm talking now. I just comes to me and I talk, and I have no problem talking. Can you tell? So I teach.
And just want to, before I forget to mention it, when we're done, feel free to go into the comments section of the video and put in the link to your course. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Oh, good. Thanks. I will. I'll put that in there.
And your drawings of cabinets were beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just beautiful.
I used to go when Home Depot, when what I loved about it was they had the 11 by 17 pads of graph paper, and people go like, oh, well, what? And I do my little plan, and they go, well, what's it really gonna? I say, okay, I turn the paper over and do a freehand perspective. Right. And they would be like, oh my God, can I take this? I'm like, yeah, sure, go ahead, take it.
You should have signed them.
I know,
right?
Put a sign on it and date, sign and date.
Yeah.
And I think that was one thing that always made everybody really impressed with my work, was because I could draw.
Yeah.
Draw it out.
Yeah. See, I started in the industry at a time when hand drawing was on its way out, and so I never learned it. I never learned to hand draw. I've only my story I've told a million times is I started designing because of 2020. So therefore I'm not going to learn to hand draw. And that was one of the reasons why earlier on I didn't do any of the CKD certifications, because I didn't have that hand drawing aspect of it. And by the time they had gone digital, in my mind, it was kind of too late. I didn't really have the time or energy to do it. But that was the big thing. I didn't have the drawing, the hand drawing skill. So,
well, yeah, being in design school, I had to do blueprints, and I had all my drafting tools.
Yeah.
But because I can draw, I just have a natural ability to draw to scale, because I just, it's pretty close to scale. I'm not to scale, but I can make it look proportional.
Sure.
And that's a gift I have. It's like I'm very gifted with color. I could see color and then remember that color and coordinate color. And it's just what I'm good at. Don't ask me to start doing accounting work or to sing a song. But I can sure do those things. And you know what? If you're good at something, be proud of it. I tend to want to not be proud of it. I'm like, I'm good at it. It's like we all want to not really say what we're good at or give ourselves a pat on the back. And you know what? Go ahead, own up to what you're good at and give yourself a pat on the back. I'm going to give you.
Yeah. Okay. That's actually a great sentiment. That most people are not good at that. They're not good at owning what they know and what they can do well. So I think that's a good note. We're running almost an hour and 10 minutes. We could probably continue on and on and on and on.
But
we should probably wrap this up. Alison, thank you so much for coming on. As I think we said earlier, Karen and I have both been on your What's New Wednesday, and we're thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much for being here. And I think I'm gonna stop the stream, but just hang around for 2 seconds.
Okay, thanks, guys.
And hang around for 2 seconds.